Hi guys, in this video I have another married couple who live in the United States and they've been married since 2015, so let's go ahead and interview them right now. Okay, welcome everybody. Thanks for tuning in today. So today we have Craig and Cheryl, right Cheryl? Craig and Cheryl. And you guys are happily married. I can tell by the smiles on your faces there. And you guys are living in the U.S., correct?
Yes.
And where exactly are you at?
Well, we're in Hawaii, so
In,
um, I was in the military, and
hmm
when I met Cheryl, and I thought Hawaii was very similar to the Philippines, so it would be more readily adjustable than say like Kansas.
yeah,
So
for sure.
I decided to just stay here and do the process to bring her over to Hawaii.
So let's go back to the beginning. How long have you been married now?
We got married in November of 2015.
November 2015. Okay, so you've been married for a little while now. And
Almost
when
5 years.
5 years? And when did you first meet?
We met in, was it March
March of
2014 on Filipina Cupid?
That the last couple that I just interviewed met on Filipina Cupid too. So
Yeah,
apparently that's a good site.
can be.
It can be. I know there's on both sides, guys and girls. There's some you get the bad apples on both sides, but yeah.
It
So
depends on what you're looking for.
right, exactly. So you guys met on Filipina Cupid, and how long did you chat before you went to the Philippines and met?
We chat like 9 months before we met in
9 months.
Yeah.
And then Craig, you went over and visited.
Right. Yeah. I flew over on in December of 2014,
Mm-hmm.
and like right before the new year, and Cheryl was working in Manila at the time because she's from Mindanao,
Oh,
in
okay.
Zamboanga del Sur. So she was
Ah.
working in Manila, and she didn't really like her employer that much.
Mm-hmm.
So when we got together, we just thought that, okay, we'll meet up in Manila and then we'll go to see her family in Mindanao. So it worked out well. We got to spend New Year's in Manila
Mm-hmm.
at a nice hotel, and then in BGC, Bonifacio Global City,
Yep.
and then we flew down to Mindanao in Pagadian, where she's from.
Okay. So the first thing I would ask is, did you feel nervous? Did you hear about, Abu Sayyaf being in Mindanao, or you weren't
Well,
worried about it?
well, honestly, I actually, because I was still on active duty, I actually had to lie where I was going because
Right.
we weren't allowed to travel to Mindanao unless we actually had family, and since we weren't married yet, she didn't qualify as a family member as a girlfriend.
Mm.
So I just told him I was going to Manila. Um, I was kind of questioning it. I heard a lot of bad things about the area, but where
Mm-hmm.
she's from is kind of in between the two bad spots.
Sure.
So, but there was an area that, like Cheryl's grandmother, her maternal grandmother, lived
Mm-hmm.
in a spot that Cheryl's like, no, no, you can't go visit there.
Mm.
I wasn't allowed to go. Like her dad was like, no, you can't go there. So we had to get her to travel, and her grandmother was old and didn't travel well, but she wanted to come and meet me. So she actually traveled from where she was with Cheryl's aunt,
Mm-hmm.
and it was for Cheryl's birthday because her birthday's in January. So we had a big party. It was nice, and they came over to visit.
And how old are you guys, if you don't mind me asking?
I'm 25.
You're
I'm gonna
20,
be 40. So we
and
got
you're
almost 20 years difference.
okay, which is really not that bad, really. I've known people with much greater age gaps. And do you feel like you get any looks or anybody who says anything negative about your age gap in the U.S. or no?
Well, I mean, still work with the military in my current job.
Okay.
So a lot of the military guys, because of international travel,
Mm-hmm.
they're in similar situations. So
Sure.
it's like the guy is older and the wife is younger. So a lot of them, the people that we know and hang out with, are very accepting. Our church, we go to, they don't have any issues with our age gap. They're very supportive and encouraging, and even her family they really didn't blink an eye at it.
It's great. And so your first visit when you went, you chatted for 9 months, you met on Filipina Cupid, and your first visit, how long did you spend there?
21 days.
I was 21 days because I had been to the Philippines before, and the free Insta Arrive visa was only 21 days. So I was thinking it was 21 days, but when I got there, they'd actually changed it in 2014. It was actually 30 days. So when I landed, they stamped it with a 30-day visa, and I was like, I could have had 9 more days. And, that was a learning experience.
Yeah.
I should have checked.
So you spent 3 weeks, and at that point, did you propose, or did you just do another visit later, or what happened during the 3 weeks?
I mean, we talked about over the 9-month period. We got to the point where we talked about getting married. So I bought a ring. I designed a ring online, and I brought a ring. Unfortunately, it was the wrong size because Cheryl had a ring that she wore that she thought it was one size. So that was the size I bought. And when we got there and it didn't fit, we went to the mall and checked the size, and her ring was actually, I think it was like 0.25 up on what I bought. So I was kind of like, might have to lose some weight. But I had the intention to propose to her as long as things went well and there wasn't any major disagreements between the two of us.
Sure.
But I did want to meet her in person because I'd been married before and I have kids. So I didn't want to get into a situation where that would potentially be a problem.
Gotcha. And so when you proposed, did you think about possibly living in the Philippines, or was it always your idea to come back to the U.S. and live in the U.S.?
Well, I'm not really in a position right now, or I wasn't then, to move to the Philippines. I'd love to. That's my ultimate retirement plan, is to retire and move to the Philippines. So for me, that meant that an American woman really wasn't plausible, because I didn't think an American woman would want to move to a foreign country where there's all these young, pretty women that, wouldn't necessarily be beneficial for her. But I've been to the Philippines before because my ex-wife was Filipina too. So.
Okay.
But I have custody of my kids, so Cheryl and I talked about it, and I explained to her that I had to wait for my kids to graduate from high school and kind of get going on their own lives before I would be in a position to move back to the Philippines.
Gotcha.
And I think Cheryl really wanted to see America too.
Before.
They all have they all have this fantastic dream of what America is and what it looks like.
Yes.
And unfortunately, I think when most of them come to America, they're disappointed. It's not that fairy tale utopian society that they think it is.
Yeah.
One of the first things that Cheryl noticed when she came here was she was surprised that there were people begging on the street. She didn't think that there were any poor Americans. All Americans are rich.
Right.
That's the belief system in the Philippines. So
Very true. So, Cheryl,
eye-opening. It's a difference. Sorry.
oh, that's okay. Cheryl, what was the first thing or what's the biggest thing that you miss from the Philippines? What would you say?
My family.
Your family. Okay. Do you feel like America's a little bit cold, like not as friendly? The people aren't quite as friendly.
Yeah, not like in the Philippines, because in the Philippines we can like just go on the neighbors and talk to them, like hang out with them. Not like here that you just like stay at the house. If you will go out, you'll just go to the mall or something.
Right. Yeah, in the Philippines, you can go to your neighbor if they're having a party and do karaoke and not
And the
and
strange part about that, Gio, is the house directly next to us is a Filipino family, and they do
ah
all of that stuff. They had big parties, karaoke, but they never invited us.
oh, they didn't.
And they even know Cheryl's Filipino. They've seen her. They've met her in the street. You know.
They've become Americanized, I guess.
Yeah, I think most of them have been here most of their lives.
Mm,
Like they just recently brought, like I think their grandmother and some siblings and nieces and nephews recently came from the Philippines. So it's a
yeah.
packed house.
So, what are some other big differences that you've noticed, Cheryl, between the Philippines and in the United States, either good or bad?
I think like the price, it's
Expensive?
yeah, expensive here.
Yeah.
Food stuff.
What do you think of the food? Do you like American food?
No, I don't. I
You
just
don't.
yeah, I always eat Filipino food. So.
You miss Jollibee?
Yeah, we have Jollibee here, but the taste is different from the Philippines.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
Ama-
think there's a little bit different with their recipes here because of the FDA. So there's
Right.
things they either can't use, or proprietary wise they don't give it to the international restaurants. So they
Right.
just, like, the big thing for her is she always eat the chicken and spaghetti when we were in the Philippines.
Hmm.
She doesn't like the gravy here. She says it's not the same.
Yeah. Well, and that works both ways, I guess. A lot of Americans complain that McDonald's is not the same in the Philippines, or it tastes the same. So I guess it goes both ways on that.
Yeah, that's our biggest struggle, Gio, is
It's the
what are we gonna eat tonight?
the food. Okay. Do you
And
find
where are we
yourself?
gonna get it?
Do you cook a lot of Filipino food at home?
Yeah, I did cook some.
Can
She's a great cook.
Yeah, Filipinos are great cooks. And what about are there some things that you cook that he doesn't like? Dried fish,
What
He
Esau.
said that. Um,
I
I've,
did cook.
I mean, I spent a long time in the military, so I mean, I ate dried squid in Korea. I've been to Japan. I've been to Philippines for like 10 years, so I've
Uh,
seen a lot of this street food and I've tried it. I'm
sure.
not a big fan of daing, but in a pinch, I could eat it.
Yeah.
You know?
So let's go back. You guys, so you met. You were there in the Philippines for 3 weeks, and is that when you started processing? I assume you did the fiance visa, the K-1.
No,
No.
we didn't get the fiance visa because Cheryl had this. She had a dream for her dream wedding,
Hmm.
and part of that is her family to participate.
Hmm.
And if we came to Hawaii, sure, we could have a nice, beautiful wedding. It would have cost me like 50 grand, but none of her family would have been able to come and participate.
True.
So what I did was we talked about it, and I said, well, let's go ahead and have the wedding in Mindanao so that
Hmm.
your family can come and attend, and then we'll just do the spousal visa, which was it was a decision on our part because the K-1 is much faster. The spousal visa is
Sure.
about twice the length of processing time.
Right.
But I definitely think it was worth it because the wedding ended up costing me probably south of 5 grand, and it was beautiful. We
Mm.
we had an entire top floor of a hotel. We had all of her family was there. We had foods, and I flew my mother and my two youngest kids at the time flew over for the wedding, so they participated in the wedding.
Wow.
My dad doesn't like to fly, so he didn't go.
Yeah. So you got married there, and how long at that point did it take for Cheryl to get to the U.S.?
So the big problem with the province is that they do everything like typewriter and by hand in the province.
Yes.
And so our marriage certificate had to travel like snail mail from Mindanao to the NSO office
6 months.
for them to produce the marriage certificate that the embassy would accept. So we had to wait for that before we could even start.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's a big delay right there. Is just that step alone, huh?
Right, and we were constantly checking, like with the NSO. I would do a request for it. I would wait like 2-3 days, and they would send me an email back and say we don't have it. Check again in 90 days, and like clockwork, every time that 90 days ticked off, I checked, and it took 6-8 months to get the actual NSO, the yellow one that the embassy would accept. We had the hard copy from when we got married, but they wouldn't accept it. Nobody would. The Army did when I got her ID card, so I was able to get her a dependent ID card, and I sent that to her in the mail.
Wow. Okay, so you were in the Army.
I was, yeah.
Okay. Yep, me too. So you did. So that took about 8 months or so, and then from that point, how much longer from that point?
We got married in November of 2015, and then Cheryl got pregnant and had our son in the Philippines, and then she arrived here right after Valentine's Day in February 2017.
Wow, so it's a long process. So
after our son was born, we had to process for his U.S. Citizenship and visa and passport. So that was added into the process as well.
I would imagine that goes a lot faster, huh? That part? Or no?
It was, but we still had to wait for the NSO birth certificate because, again, we had the same problem. The embassy won't accept the one from the hospital because there's so much forgery in the Philippines.
Sure. So November 2015, you got married, and she got there right before Valentine's Day 2017.
Yeah.
2017. Okay.
So 12th or 13th was the day we flew in.
I think a lot of people would like to know, is it an expensive process?
Oh, yes.
Very expensive.
There's a lot of fees.
Do you mind sharing approximately?
Since then.
Do you mind sharing approximately how much it would cost to get married there and have your?
Well, the fees I don't think were any more above the K1 visa.
Okay.
But I want to say it was about for just the processing was probably 2,500, maybe 3,000.
Okay. And then, of course, you got to add in plane tickets and visits and all of that. So how many times did you go back to the Philippines after that?
Well, I went back. We got married in November, but I went back to the Philippines in October, and I brought my kids with me.
Okay.
Because I wanted them to meet Cheryl before we got married.
Sure.
And I wanted to make sure that they could have like a relationship that was positive.
Sure.
And that went well. I mean, we went around. We went to Palawan. We went to what was that other one we went to?
Puerto Princesa.
No, that's Palawan. Puerto Princesa, Palawan. We went. It's just south of Batangas. But it's another island. I forget the name of it. But we went there.
Okay.
And we went to Cebu because she has family in Cebu before the wedding. So we did some traveling, and that was good. We had some. It was an experience for Cheryl. She'd never traveled before, other than from Mindanao to Manila. So,
okay.
That was good.
Great.
And
So,
our son was born in July of 2016.
But you went back there when I was pregnant, right?
Oh, yeah. I went back. The Army sent me. I found out that we were doing a TDY to the Philippines for training.
wow.
I was in a position. I talked to one of the officers, and I got her to put me on the training thing. So I went back for it was about 15 days. The training was like 9 days, and I did like 6 after that because Cheryl was pregnant, and I missed her. I wanted to see her.
Sure.
I wanted to make sure she was doing okay. And that was in March and April of 2016. And then I went back again in July. I was trying to plan my leave for when she would give birth, so I would be there, but she gave birth early, so I missed it. But I brought my kids with me that time too, in July. So that was July to August. I stayed. I think it was 40 days because I had to extend our visa. And then before, what was it? When did I go back the next time?
No, when you get me now to fly you.
Yeah, in February. We had a little bit with that one too. I don't know. Maybe you want us to go into that. Like if a baby's born in the Philippines, even though we got him a U.S. passport, we have to get permission from the Philippine government for him to leave. So our flight date was actually like the 11th, and they wouldn't let me fly with our son. They said that I could go and she could go, but our son had to stay because we didn't have clearance from the Philippine. I forget the name of the office, but again, I had some military connections. I was able to fix that pretty quick. So 2 days later.
Yeah, so I don't think a lot of people know that, but yeah, I've heard of some stories similar to that. But so Cheryl, what are some things that you do like about the U.S.? Are there some things that you actually really like?
Well, like we are together now, and like they are here. Maybe they can like compare it here in the Philippines if like we will move to the Philippines.
Yeah. So you're anxious to go back to the Philippines at some point? Yeah.
Yeah.
Have you
but because of the lockdown,
Yeah,
Yeah,
we're locked down here. So when do you try to visit yearly to go back to the Philippines, or every other year, or?
That's what we were on. Like we went back in June and July of 2018. For like 30 days to see her family. And then we were planning to go back in 2019, but my mother passed away. So we ended up going to the funeral, and we just didn't have the resources to fly back to the coast for that and then fly again to the Philippines. Even though I got free leave for the bereavement,
Right.
I had time. I just didn't have the funds for the whole family to go. You know, I can't. It's not just Cheryl and I. We have the 2 kids, and I have my 2 teenagers. So I can't just leave them here. Nobody to watch.
So
parties every day.
Let's see, Cheryl. Do you feel like you've changed at all, or do you still feel like you're very holding on to your culture?
Yeah, I did. I didn't think I changed. Like, I think everything I did was still a Filipino culture. What you think?
No, I think that I know the fear of a lot of Americans or Westerners are if you bring your Filipina bride who's maybe younger
Mm-hmm.
back to your home country, that potentially they can pick up some of the things that that particular person didn't find attractive of their own culture
Right.
staying there. But I don't think we've had that problem, because there's a lot of Filipinos in and around our neighborhood. Our church is probably 75% Filipino. They're
Uh,
Ilocano, but they're still Filipino. They speak Tagalog.
sure.
But there's a couple Visayans in there, not many. But I think that kind of helps because a lot of the Hawaiian culture is very similar
Mm-hmm.
with Filipino culture. So it's not as much of a difference if we were, say, in like where I'm originally from in Pennsylvania. It would be a struggle for her because she would be like the only Filipina for like 250-mile radius.
Right.
Nobody to talk to. I'm sure she would feel much more isolated than she does here.
Yeah, I think a lot of couples that ones that I do know that haven't worked out has been or have been Filipinas who have been like in very rural areas where they haven't had a lot of connection to other Filipinos, perhaps. So I think it's easier since you know a lot of Filipinos in the area. Now, how old is your son now, Cheryl?
It will be 4 next month.
4 next month. Wow. So
Yeah, and we added another one. We have a
oh, you have
1-year-old. He's
oh, you have a 1-year-old, so you have 2 kids.
14 months.
14 months. Boy or a girl?
We have a boy and a girl.
A boy and a girl. Perfect. You're done, right?
Yeah.
One boy, one girl. You just need the dog and you're all set.
Oh, no dogs, man. Can't travel with dogs.
That's true. You can't. Okay, so Cheryl, do you have a YouTube channel or you guys have a channel together?
Yeah, we have a channel together.
Okay. Now's the time to plug your channel. What is the name of your YouTube channel?
The Brink Family.
The
It's
what?
The Brink Family.
The Brink Family?
Yeah.
Okay. And guys, I will put the link down in the description for people. And what is your vlog about? Is it just about daily life as a couple? And
Yeah, and then sometimes we talk about like some of the challenges between Filipina American
sure.
relationship. Because it's not all sunshine and rainbows. There's disagreements and misunderstandings. So and if our experience can potentially help others, then I think that would be good. That maybe they don't make the same mistakes we did.
Well, that's fantastic. So I will put the link in the description. I'll scroll it along the bottom here as well. So I want to thank you guys for your time and reaching out to me. And by the way, if anybody else would like to be on the my channel, please feel free to reach out to me. My email's in the description. So thank you guys again, and we'll see you later.
Okay. Hey, thanks, Gio. We really appreciate it.